everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Today is Sunday, March 29th. I've got some picks and predictions for you in Major League Baseball, and I just want to say before we get this video started that I'm off to a pretty good start in Major League Baseball this season. 15-6 in 21 picks to start the year. We are seeing the board extremely well. Another profitable day on Saturday. That means every single day has been profitable. We profited on Wednesday, we profited on Thursday, we profited on Friday, and now we profit on Saturday. So let's bring it into Sunday, March 29th. Here are my plays. First up, we got the Minnesota Twins visiting the Baltimore Orioles, game 3 of that series. And right now the series is tied 1-1. We saw the Twins beat the Orioles yesterday on Saturday. That was actually my best bet of the day. I had the Orioles at -150. I thought it was a really good play. And the Orioles bats just didn't show up. They scored 1 run. They lost that game 4-1. Taj Bradley shut them down. The Orioles actually struck out 16 times in that game. I don't expect that to happen again. But let's go ahead and break down this matchup. So it's Bailey Ober for the Minnesota Twins going up against Shane Baz for the Baltimore Orioles. Bailey Ober's ERA last year was just above 5. His whip was, I think, like in the mid-ones, like somewhere around like 1.5 or pretty bad, actually. So Bailey Ober had a really bad year last year. I think probably the worst year of his career. Shane Baz also coming off of a little bit of a rough year. He had to play in that AAA ballpark in Tampa last year, and it's not a pitcher-friendly park at all. So his ERA and his other numbers were a little bit inflated. Shane Baz 2 years ago, and they were playing in that dome, he had great numbers. He was an ace-level pitcher, or maybe not an ace, but he was maybe a second, a second guy in the rotation. Anyways, I think Shane Baz is the slightly better pitching option here between the two starters. He had better numbers last year slightly, and I just think his upside, his potential is a little higher than Bailey Ober's. Shane Baz is more of a strikeout pitcher. Ober's going to pitch more to contact. And so I give the slight edge to the Orioles in the starting pitching department. When it comes to the lineups, I know the Orioles lineup has been very cold this year. They've only scored 3 runs total in 2 games so far, but the names are there. The star power is there. Taylor Ward, Pete Alonso, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman. We can just pull it up here quickly because I don't want to leave guys out. I don't want to miss out on guys, but they've got a lot of young guys in that lineup as well. That haven't really broken out yet. And the question is, when are they going to break out? They got to stop striking out. That's really the key. But anyways, I think they're slightly better than Minnesota. Okay? You look at Minnesota's lineup and, the Minnesota Twins, they won this game today. Royce Lewis had a big home run in that game. These guys are just very steady. Cody Clevens is kind of sneaky hitter. Byron Buxton, of course, is the big name in the lineup. Keishel is actually looking like a really good young player. Wallner, we'll see about Wallner. He's got some power in the bat. Josh Bell coming off of not a great year, but I'm not really sure about this Twins lineup. I just think that Baltimore definitely has more explosiveness in that lineup where, any of those top 3 guys can just explode. And there's a lot of potential in the bottom half, too. We haven't really seen it at the major league level. Samuel Basallo has struggled at this level. Struggled badly last year when he came up. Kobe Mayo, the same thing. Colton Cowser had a down year last year. Pretty much the entire Orioles team had a down year last year. So that's continued so far into this year, which is interesting considering they added both Taylor Ward and Pete Alonso. I didn't expect that. I thought, okay, you add, all that production and they're going to explode. But no, they haven't yet. But I think it's a ticking time bomb. I think that they're bound to explode eventually. I really do. I think the Orioles are going to score runs. So I'm on the Orioles here. I also think they have a better bullpen. And, I looked at it. The price is minus 150. I'm sitting there going back and forth on it. What should I do? Should I go Orioles money line? Should I go Orioles run line? And in the end, I figure, you know what? I think the Orioles have the slight edge in every department. I think they've got a slight edge in lineup. I think they got a slight edge in starting pitching, and I think they got an edge in the bullpen. So I think they're just going to win this game by several runs. I think the offense finally will show up and get to Bailey over, and then I think Shane Baz can actually have a bounce back year this year, pitching in a normal ballpark. So the Twins on the road, I don't really trust their bats in general, especially on the road. So, yeah, I took the Orioles minus 1.5 at plus 135 for, I believe, a unit. For a full unit. This is one of my biggest plays of the day. I just think that the Orioles have the advantage pretty much everywhere in this game. Yeah, I got the Orioles for a unit at plus 135 on the run line. Orioles need to win by 2. It's a nice value, though, plus 135. All right, moving on to the next game. That is the Kansas City Royals at the Atlanta Braves. And what a win for the Braves today. Walk-off grand slam for Dom Smith. That was cool to see. I should say, actually, that was on Saturday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Big walk-off grand slam there. Carlos Estevez blew that one. 6 runs allowed in the 9th inning. Wow, that's a bummer. But okay, let's talk about this one. So it's going to be Seth Lugo for the Royals going up against Grant Holmes for the Braves. Grant Holmes is a guy that I think pitches much better at home at Truist Park. And Seth Lugo struggled very badly at the end of last year. He had a 7 ERA in the second half of last year. And he was bad in the WBC. He got crushed by, I think he was pitching for Puerto Rico. He got crushed by Italy. So he pitched horrible at the end of last year. He pitched bad in the WBC. He's not coming in very hot. And the Royals' offense has been anemic. They've only scored 2 runs total in the opening 2 games. The Braves' offense looks back to, elite levels, scoring 6 runs in each game. Obviously, it took them, all the way until the 9th inning to score those 6 runs in yesterday's game, but they got the job done. And, I think Seth Lugo is starting to get to the age where, he's starting to decline a bit. I think Grant Holmes is right there in his prime right now. These are the best years of his career coming up. So, and then also I think the Braves have the better offense. I think the bullpens are equal. But, we've seen the Braves cover this spread the first 2 games in a row. I just think with the Royals offense, really struggling right now, they're kind of in a slumping mode. And the Braves offense being so explosive. And then also, a guy like Seth Lugo, who I think is declining. I think we got to be on the Braves here. So I took the Braves minus the 1.5 runs. I think they're going to cover the spread. I think there's solid value here with this play. So took the Braves at minus 1.5 or plus 140. Did not put a full unit. I only put 0.8 units. So 80% of a full unit. Okay. So, yeah, I just think the Braves, their offense has been explosive so far through 2 games. I expect them to get to Seth Lugo. And I think Grant Holmes can have some success against a Royals lineup that has really been pretty bad so far in the first 2 games. And, I think, it's only been 2 games, but the Royals on the road, I'm not so sure about their offense. When they're at home, maybe I'll be more keen to back that offense. But I think the Braves are going to pick up a sweep here to open up the season. I think the Braves are a hungry team this year. They went through a really rough time last year. All right, let's move on. Rangers and Phillies. Mackenzie Gore for the Texas Rangers. Jesus Luzardo for the Philadelphia Phillies. A couple of really good lefties on the mound in this one. Again, another series where it's tied 1-1. Now, the Rangers actually pulled off a pretty big upset today. Jacob deGrom was scratched from his start due to some neck stiffness, so the line shot way in the direction of Philadelphia about a couple hours before first pitch. And then Philadelphia proceeded to lose the game. Now, they came back late. They came back and tied the game in the ninth, but then unfortunately lost in extra innings. So they showed some fight, but let's break down this matchup. So here, we've talked about this matchup already a couple times. Obviously we've talked about all the matchups, throughout the last couple of days, which is always a fun thing to see how these series play out and then keep revisiting it every day. But we've discussed that I believe the Phillies have a stronger offense than the Rangers by a significant margin. Okay, and then especially at home, I think the Phillies offense is, explosive. The Rangers last year were really bad against left-handed pitching. They did not hit lefties well. In fact, that's an understatement. They were horrible against lefties. So Jesus Luzardo, I think, will shut them down. He pitched very well against them in his one outing against the Rangers last year. I think he allowed 1 run in 7 innings. Mackenzie Gore has faced this Phillies lineup quite a bit. He was obviously on the Nationals, so he has faced them quite a bit. He knows them well. There's some familiarity there. And he's pitched well against them. But I think if you take it a head-to-head matchup, who are you going to take, Luzardo or Gore? I think you got to give a slight edge to Luzardo. And then, especially in the situation, considering that the Rangers' offense is anemic against left-handed pitching. Now, they did score today. They scored 5 runs. But what happened when they faced Christopher Sanchez on opening day? They did not score. They got, it was not good. So today they were able to get some runs. It was Aaron Nola starting the game. I didn't actually get a look at the box score of today's game. I didn't take a super close look. But regardless, I think the Phillies have the edge in the bullpen department. I think the Phillies have the edge in the lineup department. And I think there's a slight edge there in the starting pitching department. So I took the Phillies money line here. I did not lay the 1.5 runs. I think this game could be close. I think it could come down to a 1-run game. So I'm taking the Phillies money line. I got it at -154, and this is actually my biggest play of the day. I got a 1.1 units on this one. So I think the Phillies are going to take this series at home. They're just a better team. They should be able to take this series at home and get off to the right start. All right, let's move on. Blue Jays hosting the Athletics. We've had the same bet every single day in this series. And so far, it's 1-1. Day 1, it lost. Day 2, which was yesterday, it won. And that bet is the over. And we're going right back to it here in this one again. We're going to go day 3, over. Let's go. It's Luis Morales for the Athletics against Eric Lauer for the Blue Jays. And these are 2 offenses that I really like coming into this year. And we've talked about that time and time again on this show over the last couple of days. I think that, Luis Morales, he had a really small sample size last year in the big leagues, but he pitched well. But he's going up against a Blue Jays lineup that rakes, especially at home. And I think he's in for some trouble tomorrow. He's going into a bit of a cauldron, per se. Eric Lauer, on the other hand, pretty good option overall, but I think the A's will be able to do just enough to, add on here to this total. We just need to get to 10 runs to cash it. We need to get to 9 for a push. And at plus 100 odds, I think it's good value. There's also something else that we need to note. Both of these bullpens are completely taxed. These 2 teams went to 11 innings today. And so, go ahead and take a look at the box score. I believe The Blue Jays used 8 pitchers today, and the A's used 7 pitchers today. So both bullpens are extremely taxed. They played a close game, by the way, in game 1 as well. So both bullpens are taxed right now. And the A's bullpen is god-awful. One of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. So I think the Blue Jays are going to be able to put up 5-6 runs by themselves. Maybe even more. They could explode. And then the A's, with their solid offense that they possess, I think they're going to score several runs off of Eric Lauer. And then we know the Blue Jays bullpen is not their strength. We saw them give up runs today. So I love this over 9 at plus 100. We have a unit on it. So that is actually one of our bigger plays of the day as well. Moving on, you get the Boston Red Sox at the Cincinnati Reds. This series is tied 1-1 after the Reds picked up the victory yesterday, and we were on the Reds in that game. We took the Reds money line at a really nice plus 130 odds, and that worked out very well for us. In this game, it's 2 young, really talented prospects. Connolly early for the Boston Red Sox against Rhett Lauder for the Cincinnati Reds. And, the starting pitching matchup is, your guess is as good as mine. That's a complete question mark. Nobody knows really what we're going to get from either one of those guys. They're 2 highly rated prospects. Both have pitched well in spring training, and both pitched very well in very small sample sizes while up in the big leagues. Rhett Lauder hasn't pitched since 2024. Connolly early pitched last year for the Red Sox. And he actually pitched in the playoffs too against the Yankees. Started a really big game for the Red Sox against the Yankees in a high pressure spot in Yankee Stadium. Did not get the win. He ended up losing that game, but a good experience for him. And look, as far as the starting pitching matchup goes, I think it's just a complete even split. I don't give either side an edge there. Where I give the edge is, we've talked about it time and time again on this show over the last couple of days. I think the Red Sox have a slight edge in the lineup. I think they do. And I also think they've got the better bullpen. And so at minus 140, I think the price is reasonable enough to take the Red Sox to win the series here in this Game 3, in this decisive Game 3. Obviously, Game 2 is very close. Could have gone either way. Reds took it. There's another reason why I like the Red Sox here, and it is that the Cincinnati Reds were really bad against left-handed pitching last year. They were one of the worst in Major League Baseball. I'm going to pull up the number here so we can just take a look at it. Yeah, they had a 650 OPS against lefties last year, batted .230 against them. And I just don't think it's a good matchup for them. They don't hit lefties well. And the Red Sox, I think they've got a slight edge in the lineup category. I think the Red Sox are going to win the game. So I took the Red Sox money line at minus 140. I put 0.6 units on it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to add more. I mean, I don't think... Now, the reason why I didn't is because there's too much... The reason why I only put 0.6 is because there's so much unknown when it comes to the starting pitching matchup. So I think we got to be cautious. I think we got to be reasonably cautious there. So if I add more, I'll let you know. But as of right now, I've got 0.6 on the Red Sox. All right, moving on. You know what? Let's add a little bit on the Red Sox. Let's add a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna put 0. All right, we'll make it 0.8 units on the Red Sox. All right, 0.8 U on Boston. That is what we have. Okay, I think they're going to win the game. Moving on. Pittsburgh Pirates at the New York Mets. Carmen Mlodzinski against Nolan McLean for the Mets. Mlodzinski for the Pirates. And yeah, pretty much cut and dry what we've been saying every single day. You know, the Mets have the better lineup. They've got the better bullpen. And they also, in my opinion, have the better starting pitching in this situation. So I'm on the Mets here. I'm on the Mets at the -1.5 spread at +125. I think the Mets should be able to sweep the Pirates, blow them out, and I've got 0.7 units on the New York Mets to win that game by at least 2 runs. All right. I think that, yeah, I mean, they just have a better lineup. They've got a better bullpen. They've got the better starting pitcher. I think long term, that's just a good play. And I got it at +125. It's already down to +120, so I feel pretty good about that. Anywho, moving on. Chicago White Sox at the Milwaukee Brewers. I have not gotten involved in this series at all yet. So this is my first time getting involved with this series. I'm on the Brewers here to cover the spread, -1.5 runs. I think the Brewers are going to win by at least 2. It is Brandon Sproat, a young prospect starting for the Brewers. He came via a trade in that Freddie Peralta deal that they just did in the offseason. So he came from the Mets, highly rated prospect, and going for the White Sox is Anthony Kay, who pitched in Japan for the last 2 years. But if you look at Anthony Kay's numbers from when he was back in Major League Baseball, they're horrible. His ERA was up above 6 the last time he was in the MLB back in 2023. And so Brandon Sproat did struggle last year in a small sample size with the Mets, but I think he's had time to prepare this year in the offseason. I think he's more ready for this situation now, and I think he's a slightly better option than Anthony Kay, who had a 6 ERA the last time he was in the MLB. It hasn't even been in the MLB in 2 years, and the only reason why he's in the MLB is because the Chicago White Sox are desperate, and they just need anybody to fill that rotation. So, yeah, I definitely like Brandon Sproat more than Anthony Kay. And then you got to look, the Brewers' offense is significantly better than Chicago's, and the Brewers' bullpen is also significantly better than Chicago's. So, yeah, give me the Brewers to complete the sweep and win this game by at least 2 runs. I think that they're just a much better baseball team. And so right now I have 0.7 units on the Brewers. The reason why I didn't go a little heavier on that one is because Brandon Sproat is just a little bit of a question mark. We don't really know what we're going to get from him. We haven't seen a big enough sample size yet. So I do think he's better than Anthony Kay, though. And I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that just because Anthony Kay is so bad. And then 2 more plays for you guys, and then I'll be signing off here. So quickly, we've got the Nationals at the Cubs, and we won our bet on this game yesterday. We had the Cubs to win the game by at least 2 runs, and they won 10-2. Our read was perfect. Our read was spot on in that game. It is Jake Irvin for the Nationals going up against Shota Imanaga for the Chicago Cubs. And Jake Irvin was horrible last year. His ERA, I believe, was up above 5. The Cubs destroyed him every time they faced him in the last 2 years. He's really had a bad experience going up against the Cubs. I actually have the numbers right here. The last time he faced the Cubs was last year. He gave up 7 earned runs. This was at Chicago. So the last time he was in this spot was literally just back in September of 2025, not too long ago. Gave up 7 earned runs in 3 innings. And the time before that, in 2024, when he faced at Chicago, he gave up 5 earned runs in 4 innings. So his last 2 times in this ballpark have not been good. I expect it to be another one in this one. Meanwhile, the Nationals were one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball last year against left-handed pitching. So with that being said, you have Shota Imanaga on the mound, who actually dominated the Nationals each time that he faced them. He's thrown 13 innings against the Nationals and has allowed only 3 earned runs. Those were both in 2024. So it wasn't even last year. It was 2 years ago. It was a completely different Nationals team. But, still something to note. I still think Shota Imanaga is a significantly better option than Jake Irvin. And I think the Cubs have a much better offense. I think they've got a much better bullpen. And I think the Cubs are going to take the series. I think they're going to come out firing. They definitely don't want to drop a series at home to the Nationals to start the season. So I think the Cubs win this game comfortably by a couple runs. I got them to cover the -1.5 spread at odds of -120. And I've got a full unit on the Cubs there. I like the Cubs quite a bit to win that game by several runs. And then last but not least, my final bet for the day is going to be in the Cleveland Guardians at the Seattle Mariners game. It's going to be in primetime, 4:20 p.m. on Peacock. It's going to be a good one. Slade Cecconi for the Guardians up against Emerson Hancock for the Mariners. Right now, the Guardians hold a 2-1 series lead in this series. Pretty surprising. Most people had Seattle winning this series. And, a lot of people had Seattle as, a lot of people had Seattle as World Series favorites. And I am seriously doubting that. I don't see them as World Series favorites at all. And in this game, look, we've seen it so far in this series. The Guardians battle hard. They've been doing this for years. The Guardians always are going to battle hard. Doesn't matter who they're playing. They're always in the playoffs. And they've done it in this series. And they have found themselves a gem in Chase DeLauter. Okay, 4 home runs in 3 games for this rookie. They may have found a replacement for Josh Naylor. They may have an opportunity to actually have a serviceable offense this year, which would really be big considering the fact that they've got pretty good starting pitching and they've got pretty good bullpen. They've got a pretty good bullpen. So if you can, make the offense score a little bit more runs, this team could be significantly better this year. And, they're a team that won the division last year, so it's not like they were, some bums. They've been a good team. And Seattle has underperformed. In this game, it's Slade Cecconi against Emerson Hancock. Slade Cecconi is the better pitcher. Just by the numbers, which is what I go by, he's the better pitcher. And so the Guardians have already won 2 out of the first 3 games as underdogs in this series. Now you're giving me the Guardians as underdogs again with the better starting pitcher on the mound. I have to take the Guardians money line here. I have to. And so I did. I took the Guardians money line at +131 for 0.7 units. And so I think the Guardians are going to win this series. I think they're going to win that game. So those are my plays. That is everything that I've got for Sunday, March 29th. I'll recap it really quickly here. Orioles -1.5 for 1 unit at +140 odds. Pretty juicy. Phillies money line at -154 for 1.1 units. Braves -1.5 at +140 for 0.7 units. Actually, no, 0.8 units. Athletics, Blue Jays over 9 runs at +100 for a unit. Red Sox money line. Currently, I only have, it's at minus 140 odds. Currently, I only have 0.6 units. I might add more, though. I might add more to that play. We'll see. Mets, minus 1.5 at plus 125 for 0.7 units. Brewers, minus 1.5 at plus 125 for 0.7 units. Cubs, minus 1.5 at minus 120 odds for a unit. And the Guardians money line at plus 130 for 0.6 units. Guys, we are on a 15 and 6 run to start this Major League Baseball season. We've been profitable every single day to begin this year, 4 days in a row. Let's keep it rolling as we head into Sunday. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your picks and predictions in the comments section below. Let me know if you guys disagree with any of my plays. And let's go out there. Let's make some money. See you guys tomorrow.